Welcome back to this third episode, revisiting my adventures in broadcast tower work. Today and for the next few episodes, we will be in eastern North Carolina, my home state. I arrived in town pretty early the day before we were supposed to start the project, went out to the tower site, got this video, flying my drone. This tower is shown in our drawings as being a little over 1,850 feet, but articles from the station claim that the tower was nearly 2,000 feet tall, 1,985. So I'm not sure if they're including the height of the antennas or what. It's not uncommon for there to be a mismatch in between the drawings and other claims of height. So either way you slice it, this will be my first time working above the clouds and my first time working higher than any building in America. One last look at the sunset. Pulling up to work the next day. A view looking up at the tower from the ground, getting a sense of just how massive it is. So the first thing that we had to do was take some FM elements up the tower and install them to be used temporarily. One of the structural aspects of this project was changing out diagonal rods, and a lot of the ones that we had to change were where the FM bays are located. And the FM antennas are a style, it's an ERI style, I'm pretty sure, but they're like big squares that go right in the bays. You'll see them later. Set up a time lapse here to record the tower's shadow moving around. It's essentially just a giant sundial, so I would make observations day to day and I would note where the tower's shadow was around 5 p.m. Pick out a distinctive tree or house or something and be like, it's, tower shadows on the quitting tree. We got to get out of here, fellas. We would typically work like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on this project, and for most of my broadcast career, that's the target, 10-hour days, 6 days a week. We were getting our materials prepped for the structural work. I almost didn't include this footage because it's like literally my first time operating a telehandler, aka fork truck, and I operate it as one would operate a forklift because that was my previous experience, but I think it's kind of funny to see, and it's good to, look back at this, and it's the beginning of when I was doing this broadcast work, and I'm doing it like a total beginner. So the wonderful thing about telehandlers is they have a telescoping boom, so I could have just extended the joystick that I was using to lift and lower the boom. I could just move it to the right, and that would extend the boom out. I don't have to physically drive the truck to pick everything up. So obviously I've learned that now, and this is kind of painful to watch, but brace yourself, here it comes. Yep. Total noob status here. But you don't have to use fork trucks on cell tower sites, and that's where I've been working before. Here's a look at the drawings for this project. You can see we're doing diagonal reinforcements at several elevations through the tower, the highest being at about 1,850 feet. And this is all to brace the tower and prepare it for a new antenna that was being swapped out. We didn't do the swap for it, but we just did the structural work. If you live or if you've ever worked around the southeastern coast, in the summertime, the evaporative cycle is just going non-stop, and every day around 3:30 you can expect a storm. Well, we were not very far from the North Carolina coast, and that was going on with us. So this was the first time I had experienced a storm from like the level at which the storm fell. This would be the first, but definitely not the last storm to catch us before we could get off the tower.
Both of y'all are.
It's not gonna miss us?
No, I don't think it's gonna miss us.
Stop it, y'all, get in!
Look at overall.
Overall, that's safety.
That big ass fucking platform right there.
So this will be my first day truly working above the clouds. I set my phone on time lapse on the step as you get into the elevator, just pointed it up, and soon you'll be able to see some clouds passing through the tower. Yeah, there they go, and us passing through the clouds. So we're up above them now. I guess we're heading up to do some diagonal reinforcements at the higher elevations. This elevator travels 100 feet per minute, so if we're going up to 1,800 feet, you're looking at real time an 18-minute elevator ride. Here we are above the clouds, and likely higher than every building in America as well. For me, being at these extreme heights, like we often work on towers that are 1,000 feet tall, going up to 1,500 is another bump, and going up to 2,000 is another. Like I really register it, and I feel like, oh, we are a good bit higher now. Of course, climbing a tower and rigging it, you really feel it. But even just riding up on an elevator and looking out, it is a noticeable and dramatic difference being at 2,000 feet versus 1,000, 1,000 versus 500. There's nothing like a day when the weather conditions are just right for you to be in the clouds or for them to be below you. It's just majestic. So now, dear viewer, I will leave you to view these clips in peace. Enjoy this time lapse of being above the clouds and a couple videos to follow, and then I'll jump back in to voice over the structural work we do. Here we are doing a diagonal rod replacement change in one of the FM bays. That structure there that is in the way of everything. It's an FM antenna. So first thing we had to do is brace a tower with a sling, and then you can't see it as off camera, but there's a big turnbuckle in there. Tighten that up to take the tension off so we can get the rod out. It's also important to brace the tower whenever you're removing any structural member. You got to brace the tower. So we would do that for the first rod, and then flip everything around and do it for the next rod. Again, you just brace the tower with the slings, get that turnbuckle good and tight, and remove the hardware that's holding the old diagonal rod in place. Remove the old diagonal rod. Put a new diagonal rod there, and then put new hardware in. Here's the second time that a storm caught us, and the video on this one looks the way that it does is because it's shot through a plexiglass window in the elevator. So it's not crystal clear, and I think my phone lens may have been damaged or dirty too. When I get it out of the elevator, there's still a little bit of crud on it, but you can tell, I mean, even through time lapse, these storms come quickly. There were a lot of storms in the area, and most of them would not come and hit us in the tower. You'd see it off in the distance, and it would blow away, and so you'd be like, okay, this storm's going to do the same thing. But nope. Like I mentioned earlier, it takes so long to get down off the tower in the elevator. You're talking 15 minutes if you're at 1,500 feet, 18 minutes if you're at 1,800 feet. So it kind of looks like this storm had wore itself out by the time it got to us. But looking at what we were looking at the beginning, we definitely made the right call to go ahead and get down off the tower. Even if it was just a light shower like that, the rain's cold, temperatures are hot, boys don't need to be in wet harnesses, forget about it. I have a lot of cool pictures that I'm considering making posters or prints or something like that. If you're interested in purchasing something like that, mention it below in the comments, and that'll give me motivation to actually figure out how to make that a thing. We got another time lapse here, riding the elevator up, and it's cool seeing it all sped up like this because it takes a lot longer in real life. But you can see the the horizon just expanding, going farther and farther out, how far you can see. Something a lot of people ask. It's a pretty frequently asked question. How far can you see from so-and-so? And that always brings in debates with the flat earthers that we can get into at some point in time in the future. But, the Globers say you can see further the higher you go up. So we'll close it off there. Thanks for tuning in.